Hi friends, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, welcome. I'm Joanne and I love all things art, doodling, bullet journaling, lettering. I love it all. So for today's video, I'm super excited because I'm going to be showing you guys how I created 50 different fonts in my bullet journal. As you can see, there's a huge mix here. I definitely didn't create all of these. Some of them are sort of my creation. Some of them I've found on different sources, online, on other creators' accounts. So I definitely did not create these, but it's sort of my selection of my favorite and go-to fonts that I'm going to show you guys how to do today. When I was thinking about this video, I was sort of debating if I should do a fonts video and then a separate headers video for you guys, but I decided against it because I actually couldn't pick out which ones are fonts and which ones are headers because I don't think there is a clear separation. It's totally up to you how you want to use different fonts in your journals, and there's no reason why any one font has to be used for a certain purpose. So I decided I'm just going to do a big dump of fonts on this page. I'm going to show you how to do all of them, and then it's totally up to you guys how you want to use them. Also, side note, but I'm growing herbs. Wish me luck with these guys. You can see my basil there is not doing great, but let's hope he can stay alive. So if you haven't already, make sure to click that like and subscribe down below, and let's get right to it. So I'm going to be using a bunch of different pens in this video, and I'm going to show you guys now what I'll be using, but definitely don't feel any pressure like you have to have these to create these, not at all. This is just what I've decided to use for today. So first I have a black fine liner. That is kind of essential, but you don't have to have this particular one by any means. This one is quite a fine tip, so I'll be using this one. And then I also have a slightly fatter one that I'll be using as well for any block letters. Then for the brush lettering, I'm going to be using this Zebra Midliner pen in this purple color. This one's quite helpful because it has the brush tip, and that's going to be very useful for us. Then I also suggest choosing another color that you can use for any ombre effects that we're going to do. And so I've chosen darker purple. You can choose a different color, but I think it looks nice to have two of the same color in different shades. I'm also going to be using this black brush lettering pen. This is also quite useful. And then to add some accents to a few of the fonts, I'm going to be using this gray Zebra Midliner pen, as well as this white brush fine liner pen thing from Staedtler. But those are sort of accents. I would say the most important is having the fine liners and the colored brush pen. So I'm starting off with the classic cursive font here, just using my brush pen and writing out the word, putting pressure on the downstroke and light pressure on the upstroke. The next font we're going to do is a block letter one, so I'm adding an extra stroke on the left side of each letter, and then I'm going in and shading that with my fine liner, and that's it for this one. The next font, I'm going to draw out a few lines with my colored brush pen, and then just very simple writing block letters on top of that with my fine liner. The next font is even more simple, just plain block letters with a strong colored pen. For the next font, I'm drawing out a plain cursive font and then adding a line on each side just to add a little bit of oomph. For the next font, I'm going in with my light colored brush pen, writing out the word. I'm adding a bit of emphasis on the downstroke, and then using my fine liner, I'm going around and outlining the entire word. Don't forget to get those inner parts of the letters like E and A. If you miss them, it will look a bit wonky, so make sure you get those, and it adds a lot of definition. After I finish outlining all the letters, I'm going to go back in and add sort of drop shadows. So I'm adding an extra line and coloring it in a little bit to the right of each stroke, and this gives it a sort of 3D shadowed effect. The next font is another block letter, just like we did before. I'm adding the extra stroke to the left of each letter, and then instead of shading it with my fine liner, I'm going to be using my colored pen this time and adding this sort of arrow, coloring that in, and then adding a dot below each just to add a little bit of interest. The next font is again this regular cursive font, but then I'm going back in and adding an extra stroke to the left of each downstroke. You can color that in, or you can leave it blank like I did. The next stroke, I'm doing that same cursive font, but really drawing it out to make a bit more space, and then with my brush pen, adding capital letters above and below each letter. The next one is another simple one. It's just basic block letters like we used to do in school. So I'm drawing out all the letters, and then I'm going to go in and color inside of each of those. And then, sorry, it was a little bit hard to see here. I didn't zoom in quite enough, but I'm adding to the left and top of each letter this sort of second stroke, and this makes it look kind of 3D, and then I'm going in and shading each of those too. Next, I'm doing one of my favorites. It's super classic, just writing out the word in the brush lettering, and then I'm going in with my fine liner and adding a line to the right of each stroke, and it gives it this really cool shadow effect for a very classic font. The next font I'm doing is just a plain lettering font with my black fine liner and adding a little tick at the top and bottom of each letter to make it look like a sort of typewriter font. And then I'm going in with the colored pen and adding dots in between each letter just for fun. And finally, I'm doing just the basic brush lettering stroke with stretched out letters and then leaving it plain like that. For this next font, I'm doing one of my all-time favorite fonts. It is a bit more involved, but it looks super cool. This one I'm going in with the classic brush lettering font once again, but I'm thickening each downstroke, and I'm actually thickening all the strokes just to make a bit more space. Then I'm going in and outlining it, so it kind of looks like one we've already done, but not for long. Going in and outlining, again, don't forget to get those inside sections. It makes such a big difference. And then after you've finished outlining all the letters, we're going to be adding another dropped shadow to the right like we did on another font before. So we're going to add an extra stroke to the above and right of each stroke, and then we're going to be shading that in with the fine liner, and that gives a sort of cool 3D effect. So you can see I'm adding the stroke here and then shading that in. Next, I'm going to grab my darker purple here. You can grab your other color and just coloring in the bottom half. So we're going to do this sort of like ombre effect. And unfortunately, this marker that I'm using is not very high quality, so it doesn't blend very well, but that's okay. I'm going to add the color first and then go back in with that higher quality brush pen and just pull the color up to blend it a little bit more smoothly. Then finally, I'm using this white pen. A gel pen works even better to add a little bit of light to the side of the letters, and that's it for this one. The next one I'm doing is another classic brush lettering stroke, but for this one I'm going to alternate colors every letter, and that's it. Next we have another simple block letter one, just writing out the block letters quite spaced out, drawing a box around that, and then adding a shadow around the box with my light colored brush pen. The next font is just, again, the classic brush lettering stroke, and then I'm going in with a gray brush pen to add a sort of subtle shadow. We've done shadows in black, and the gray is a good way to give a more subtle effect. The next font is a really good one for titles and headers. You draw a solid line with your brush pen, write in the word in cursive, and then write in capital letters around that. Kind of similar to what we did before, but I've flipped the colors on you here with the color on the inside. The next one is a much stronger font. I'm using my thicker fine liner here to write out the word in block letters. I'm going with lowercase, but you can also do this in uppercase. And then I'm going to go back in with my thinner fine liner and add not really a shadow, but more just a line to the right of each stroke. And this gives a sort of 3D or shadowed effect. The next one I'm doing is very simple. I'm just writing the word in cursive, and then I'm adding this sort of like squiggly rectangle on each corner to mimic a piece of tape. The next one, we're going to do another ombre effect, but it's slightly different than the one before. So first I'm starting with the lighter color and thickening the downstroke just to give us a bit more room to play with. Then I'm adding that darker color into the bottom half. Again, it's not blending very well, but that's okay. Let's add the color first. And then I'm going to go back in with the lighter brush pen and pull that color up to make the blending a bit more smooth. And then just for fun, I'm going in with my fine liner and adding some polka dots down each downstroke just to give it a bit more interest. This next font is a very geometric one, so I'm going to be writing out the word in solid block letters with my thicker fine liner. And then after we've written out the whole word, you're going to use your thinner fine liner and pick a point sort of in the distance above the word. You can see I'm picking this point here, and then draw lines from the top of each letter to that point. A really helpful trick is to keep your eye on where your pen is headed, and you'll see that your pen will actually end up there, and you can get some pretty straight lines without a ruler. For the next font, we're going to be writing simple block letters, kind of spaced out like this, and then also in capital letters in the colored pen, writing the capital letters around the word in the center. And I'm going to do another classic brush stroke here, drawing some lines, and then on purpose I'm making the word a little bit larger than the lines I drew. Moving on to the next page, now I'm going to do another block letter, similar to what we did before, adding that second stroke on the left, and then more simple than before, I'm just coloring that in with the darker purple, and that's it. We're going to do another sort of ombre font. I'm doing the same cursive brush stroke again with the lighter pen, but now I'm going in with the solid black. I'm thickening the downstroke first, but then I'm using my black, and whereas before with the ombre we kind of like used the brush pen to sort of smoothly blend it, this one's going to be a hard transition, so just a straight line across each downstroke and then coloring the bottom in with my black brush pen. This gives a really cool like night and day effect. And then after I've finished adding the black to each letter, I'm going in with the white again and adding that little bit of light on the side. If you have a gel pen, that works even better. The next font's really simple as well, just a classic block letter with my thicker fine liner and thickening it up a little bit, and then adding with the light brush pen around the edge and a few sparkles on the corners. This next one is sort of a mix of fonts we've already seen, the classic brush stroke with the extra stroke on each downstroke to make that open space there, and then I'm going in with the light brush pen first and then adding that ombre effect on the bottom with my darker pen. So same as before, I'm adding the dark color and then using the light color to pull it up and blend it smoothly. This next font is again just the classic lettering, but I'm making it a bit more fun and whimsical this time by doing an outline sort of very roughly around the edge and then adding a shadow with the light pen. You can also use the dark pen if you want a bit of a stronger effect. This next font is probably the most simple on the whole page, literally just classic capital letters and a dot in between each. This next one I'm going in with my colored pen and just writing out the word in capital letters first, spaced kind of medium far apart, and then using my black brush pen to write the word in lowercase across that. This next one is very similar, using the thicker brush pen to write the word first, and then adding capital letters on top, so kind of the reverse of what we just saw above. This next one is another classic, just block letters of the capital letters of this word in black. Then I'm going to be adding the drop shadow behind it, so making it look kind of 3D, going in with my fine liner and adding above and to the right of each letter another line and then coloring in that space. This makes it look like 3D block letters. And then I'm going to be using my colored pen, but you can also use the brush pen if you want, and I'm coloring it in solidly at the top, but then sort of sketching it out as we get further down. I got a bit carried away with the A, but this is giving it a cool ombre effect, and you can do this with just one pen without needing to have any fancy brush pens. This next one's kind of fun, drawing a line. It's going to be sort of like a banner, and then writing one letter in each banner. The next font I'm going to show you is a vertical one. So I'm making a colored box first, writing the word, and then adding a second box behind it and shading that in for a sort of shadow. The next font is also kind of similar to what we've seen before. Again, this classic brush stroke, and then I'm going to be outlining the whole word like we've done a few times already. Now don't forget to get those inner parts of like the E and the A, and then once you've outlined the whole word, we're going to go in and add the block lettering effect, so adding another line above and to the right of each letter, but instead of coloring it in or shading it in like we've done in the past, we're just going to leave it like this, and it gives a more simple effect. Right, the next one is sort of a play on something we've done before. I'm just writing these solid block letters, adding a dotted curved rectangle around the edge, and then coloring that in with the purple. The next one is capital letters here, and then I'm using the fine liner to write the word in cursive on top. We've done this before, but with an empty space in the middle. This next one is sort of a curved bubble or block letter, and then I'm using the colored pen to add the 3D block effect behind it. We've done this in a sort of standard block letter, and here I'm adding a bit of curvature so you can make your text a little bit more fun or whimsical with this font. The next one is really good for titles or headings. I'm writing the word in cursive, drawing a box around that, and then I'm adding these sort of like flags on each side and coloring that in so it looks like it's coming out of the page. You can leave it like that, or I've decided to color it in here. And the next one is the classic brush lettering stroke with my black brush lettering pen, and then I'm going in thickening the downstroke a little bit just to give it a more smooth effect and clean it up a little bit. Then I'm using my colored pen and adding a straight line next to each downstroke. I'm not connecting it, so it's not quite a block letter effect, just a little bit of interest. For the next one, I'm writing out the word in lowercase, making it a little bit more rounded than usual. And then I'm going in and writing out the curved block letters in black fine liner, and this one got away from me a little bit. You should try to stick a little bit closer to the word in the back, but I think it worked out. This next font is a really fun one. I'm drawing out the letters in sort of a more fancy calligraphy style, and then I'm drawing it on two separate lines and adding in these little sparkles around it, and I think this just looks so fun and cute. This next one is quite a strong effect, starting with the classic brush lettering that we've done many times already, and now I'm thickening not just the downstrokes but all of the strokes because we need the purple to be a little bit wider. Then I'm going in with the thick fine liner, outlining the edge, and now I'm going to color in all that negative space, and so we're going to be left with just the purple showing through. And this leaves quite a strong effect if you're looking for like a more space themed or yeah, just a more bold title. Next one, I'm starting with the classic brush lettering in my black pen. I kind of messed up here. I should have gone with the purple lines first. As you can see, it really smudged out the black ink. So I would do the purple lines first next time, but anyways, then I'm adding these sort of sparkles around the edge. This next one, we've actually done it before. I sort of forgot, but this one's in capital letters. Before it was in lowercase, and I'm going in with that gray shadow around the edge. For the next one, we're going to do a sort of picture frame effect, so just writing out the word. You can use any font you like to write it. I've used a cursive, and then I'm adding these like sort of tabs in each corner and connecting them so it sort of looks like a picture in one of those plastic frames. And then I've decided to color in the tabs, and you can leave it at this, but I've also added a little line inside. The next font I'm going to do is similar to the bubble letter we did before, sort of a more rounded block letter, but I'm doing this one in a colored pen, and then I'm again doing that sort of ombre effect with a single pen, so I'm coloring in the bottom this time, and then sketching it out more lightly towards the top of the letter. We did the reverse before, and then afterwards I'm going to use my black fine liner and just go around the edge. And now it's kind of running out of room, but we have 2 more fonts left. Here I'm drawing a box, writing in the word, and then adding this sort of like shade around it, and then coloring this in. Again, I should have colored first. And for the very last font, I'm adding this sort of like sketchy brush stroke here, and then just simply writing the word on top. And there you have it. That's 50 cool fonts you can use in your bullet journal. And that's it for this one. I'm so glad you guys are here with me today. I really hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope you found a new font that you're going to try out. Let me know down in the comments which font was your favorite, and also let me know if you think I forgot any that I should be adding to my journal. If you found this video helpful, I would really appreciate it if you guys could like and subscribe down below, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye, friends!